أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. We are discussing Surah Yusuf, and last time we had discussed a couple of ayat from ayat number 31 to I think ayat number 35 perhaps. As usual, I'll try to recapitulate some of the important points which had come under discussion last time, and also particularly the questions which were raised at the end. And I think in Surah Yusuf, in fact, in Quran, every word is important, every syllable is important. Within this surah, these ayat are extremely important, crucially important. I'm repeating and using these words extremely and crucially. And very humbly, I will submit here that the misinterpretation and the inadequate translation or interpretation of these ayat has damaged the very belief and the very purpose of the revelation of the surah. And I'm saying this with all humility and at the same time with all emphasis. It's such an important thing. So first of all, I expose those ayat, and then I'll come to these points that how it has affected the belief, the misinterpretation, and how it continues to affect the Muslim world, not just at one place. Sorry. The background, you know, that the women of the higher society at that time of power class, they were gossiping about the involvement of Zulaykha towards her young slave, Hazrat Yusuf. Then Zulaykha arranges a banquet, and in such a manner that, as it has been interpreted, as it generally known, that she placed must be along with other things, not just one thing, that she placed a knife. The knife is translated sikinun as knife, and then they cut their hands. وَكَتَنَ أَيْدِيَهُنَّ. And then at that time, Yusuf was called in, because at that time they cut their hands, as it has been translated. And at that time, while the victim is standing before that group, loudly and eloquently, openly, Zulaykha threatens. And she not only threatens, but she is very clearly explaining that what she wants, what is her desire. And if he does not satisfy her desire, then Yusuf will be sent to jail and he will be dishonored. And the women around here, they join the chorus. And looking at this situation, the victim in that group is standing, witnessing everything, what is happening, how the things have now from one person become a group affair. You know, he is praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that save me from these ladies. Yadunani ilayhi kaidahunna. And then he says that otherwise I'll be falling, tossing around among these ladies. Ilayhinna. And first time when he had complained to Aziz, he had used singular only for Zulaykha. But here he's requesting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save him from all these ladies. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also repeats from his side that yes, I redesigned the things, I designed the things, and I saved him from the machinations of these women, Hunna. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also using plural for the group, entire group, these women. And after that, the jury, they changed their mind. It occurred to them that they went for punishing a life imprisonment. They imposed life imprisonment as a condemned prisoner on Yusuf alayhi salam. Now, this was the background, and now I come to the today's discussion in the light of, in the background of these ayat. This is our lecture which we are starting now, and these are the ayat which I have already exposed. Unfortunately, not only in the non-Muslim world, but the literature which I will be presenting here from the Muslim world and not from unknown people, from the most revered people, most outstanding scholars of Islam, Muslim world, I'll present their literature. And it has been presented as a love story, rather a lust story. And it's not only that I'm presenting this literature, but I've heard with my own ears from the pulpit, from in the khutbahs, from the member, and in not only at ordinary places, but like masajid discussions taking place. Story misinterpreted as love story of Zulaikha with Yusuf, and it was deliberately popularized like stories of Alif Laila. If you kindly recall, at one point I had said that when after 15th century, when the colonialists entered the oceans, seas, and they wanted to take over lands, at that time they studied the literature and where they can damage. Alif Laila was collected through Persian. It was translated into English. It was popularized, and then Alif Laila replaced the history, and it became the norm, cultural event almost every night in the palaces. As poetry became, mushaira became the culture in subcontinent, in the palace, in India, Mughal Empire, where the Mughal emperor himself used to preside the mushaira and oversee the arrangements for months together, and the mushaira going on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and even the girls, the daughters, the sisters, the ladies of the palace used to dance to the tune of the Deputy Commissioner of East India Company. This was the state of our culture. This is history, but we don't want to go into those details. Now, they treated this story also as a story, lust story, love story of Yusuf and Zulaikha. These crept not only into literature, journal, in different languages, not one language, Bengali, Urdu, Sindhi, Punjabi, Persian, almost all languages of the world, but into sermons also from the pulpit. How? Here I have this time taken these paragraphs without adding anything, without changing any word, that what the world has written, what the world is writing. And here, as it is in inverted commas, I'm quoting from Wikipedia. You can open it on Wikipedia. In the history of Europe, the Middle Ages, what is the Middle Ages period? Medieval period. This is the medieval, also called medieval period. This is the period from the birth of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to the fall of Spain. This is the period. I don't know how much we study this period. This period is specifically, separately studied. And this is the period which they call as the Dark Ages. When we refer to Dark Ages, for them, this is the period of Dark Ages, from the birth of the Prophet to the fall of Spain. lasted approximately from 5th to the late 15th centuries. It began with the fall of the Western Roman Empire, fall of Roman Empire to whom? You know that, and transitioned into the Renaissance till the Renaissance came. This is all dark ages for them, and the age of discovery when the Renaissance started. Yusuf and Zuleika, again Wikipedia, into inverted commas. I have not added any word. Yusuf and Zuleika, the English transliteration of both names varies greatly. Refers to medieval Islamic version of the story of Prophet Yusuf and Potiphar's wife. Potiphar in Bible, Aziz is called Potiphar. In Surah Yusuf, you read Aziz, the husband of Zuleika. He's called Potiphar in Bible. To the Potiphar's wife, which has been for centuries in the Muslim world and is found in many languages such as Arabic, Persian, Bengali, Turkish, and Urdu. Its most famous version was written in the Persian language by Jami. Jami, Rumi, Ghalib, Firdausi. By these poets are selected, and aid is provided, donor aid is provided for popularizing, rewriting, for republishing their books and popularizing them. Its most famous version was written in the Persian language by Jami, 15th century, recollected, reprinted in his Haft Aurana, Seven Thrones. The story had by then many elaborations, including Sufi interpretation. All Sufis treat Zuleika as an innocent person. All Sufis. But the story doesn't end here. Sufi interpretation, while Zuleika's longing for Yusuf represents the soul's quest for God. Love for God is represented by Sufis in the lustful love of Zuleika for Yusuf. You have seen in the ayah what the ayah tells us. Was she looking for the truth or reality like God? She was looking for lust, and she said, if he doesn't do what I asked him, she is emphasizing on the amal. He has to do that. And Yusuf is complaining, using that word, that she is seducing me. And here Sufis, these are not my words. These are the words of history that we have interpreted. We have presented Zuleika as the innocent person, and her love for Yusuf has been interpreted as the love of God. Because of the misinterpretation, which I am pointing out. Another writer who retold the story is Mahmud Gami, Kashmir, Gami. It is a standard tale used in the Punjabi kisse, like a kissa. This is also part of culture. In the evening, people gather around the fire. Like, for example, in Peshawar, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in India, and they then tell these stories, the kisse. There exists, as well as long poem on the subject, another author by Yusuf and titled Yusuf and Zuleika, which used to be attributed to Firdausi. Who is Firdausi? Firdausi is the greatest poet, not just the great poet. He is the greatest poet of his era, greatest poet of Persian Empire. He is the greatest poet of the entire region of Central Asia, including Iran, parts of India, and so on. Firdausi. The great Persian poet of the 10th and 11th century. However, scholars have rejected this book based on his low quality and the timeline of Firdausi's life. Muslim scholars who believe in Quran, who are considered to be the orthodox Muslims, they rejected it. And these are the references. And you read this from Wikipedia word to word, you can compare it. As in many other Muslim countries, I'm not talking of non-Muslim countries, narrative of the epic love of Yusuf and Zulaikha, as if Yusuf is also involved in the love, because we have translated Hammat bihi wa Hammat biha, as he was also inclined. They have interpreted it like that. Was covered in classic literary works of East Bengal. We are coming to Bengal now, modern Bangladesh, in the 14th century AD, during the reign of Sultan Ghiyasuddin. And at that time, another author. There are thousands of authors, and it is reflected. I am saying this with a very painful heart that this is reflected in some of the khutbahs. You can buy a khutbah, go to the market and say that I want a khutbah in which the love story of Yusuf and Zulaikha is included. Shah Muhammad Sagir, in Bengali version, Yusuf Zulaikha, which is considered one of the greatest literary works of the medieval golden age of Bengali literature. It is highly respected, highly accepted. Based on Jami's Persian version, another Sadiq Ali also wrote this story as poetic style in another Silhati version, Nagari script, Indian script, Hindi script, which he titled Muhabbat Nama of Yusuf and Zulaikha, made it so acceptable. It is read with safar sawab. It is read with reverence, respect, and I have heard with my own eyes, with my own ears, in some of the marriage ceremonies, sermonizations taking place, in which the mullah prays, "O Allah, grant love of Zulaikha to this bride for her husband." Look at the ignorance because of the wrong interpretation and misinterpretation of these ayat of Quran. That is why it is so painful. This is present. I'm not saying this thing today. These are all written, available. If you go into research and you conduct your own research, Yusuf and Zulaikha, the biblical legend of Joseph and Potiphar's wife, in the Persian version ascribed to Abdul Mansur Qasim, called Firdausi, edited by so and so. These are the references. Yusuf Zulaikha, another reference. Salim Mustafa, another reference. Now in the Bible, as we say, there's a human edition. We don't know those details, but Quran doesn't mention that. They exonerated Zulaikha as an innocent person by declaring Potiphar, by declaring Aziz as impotent. And they created a justification from their cultural perspective to say that Zulaikha was innocent in this action. It was justified. And we did the same thing, that we said that the ladies cut their hands. And Yusuf was so irresistible, a handsome person, a beautiful, because of his beauty. But that refers to the appeal, stimulus, that these ladies were not able to resist him. If all these ladies are not able to resist him, then why blame Zulaikha? This is the justification which has been provided in these explanations, which you read all this poetry. The longest poem of Firdausi. It is very lustful. You will forget about other love stories. Romeo and Juliet, you will forget about it. It is in such a lustful manner, Yusuf and Zulaikha, how Yusuf is advancing towards her. And there is a whole world of painting. You can buy paintings. There is a whole literature behind that. These are more references. I'm not going into these references. List of references, some important references which are mentioned here. I'm not reading those references. But Muhabbat Nama, like these books are available. Love story, love new pavilions, loves new pavilions. Here, some people may think, who is Jami? We don't know. Many people may not know this. Who is the Jami? He is the most influential poet of Turkey, Iran, Central Asia. It says that a Persian Sunni poet, and I have not even removed the references, they are shown there at the top. He is Persian Sunni poet who is known for his achievements as a prolific scholar, Muslim scholar, and writer of mystical Sufi literature. Because of Yusuf Zulaikha's lustful story. He was primarily a prominent poet, theologian, Ilmul Kalam, of the school of Ibn Arabi, another the greatest, the father of Sufis of Muslims, and some other Sufi scholars recognized for his eloquence, for his analysis of the metaphysics, Sufism, of mercy. His most famous poetic works are Haft Aurana, 7 works. Keep it in mind. I'll show those 7 works and what are those and where it Yusuf and Zulaikha is. And these are the names of the books. And among them, he has placed the story of Yusuf and Zulaikha, accepted by the Sufi Muslim world, along with Layla Majnu written here. I have not written this word. And it is accepted by all Sufi, Naqshbandi, Sufi orders. We have not analyzed the state of affairs of what is the termite which has eaten us from inside. What is Hafta Orana? This is a list of the Hafta Orana 7 books. And among them, along with Layla and Majnu, Yusuf or Zulaikha, the romance of Joseph and Zulaikha. Yusuf is equally involved. Wife of Potiphar, a married woman. Prophet is in love with her, and she is in love with him. Based on the Islamic traditions, this is not my word, this is not my comment. This is the world is commenting on this. Based on the Islamic traditions, we are responsible for this. We have produced these translations and we continue to present these translations. We go further. Look at Firdausi, how he is praised. Author of Shahnama. Shahnama was written under the orders of the emperor. He was rewarded. He was to be rewarded beyond any limit. But there are certain controversial stories about it, whether he received the reward according to his expectations or not, which is one of the world's longest epic poems created by a single poet, and the national epic of Greater Iran Empire. Firdausi is celebrated as one of the most influential figures of Persian literature and one of the greatest in the history of literature. These are not my words. Into inverted commas, you can see this, find this, not in one book, but everywhere. Now I come to the words which I had very humbly presented, that what is the position of the meaning, what is the position of the meaning of these words. I am referring to Mutaradifatul Quran by Kailani. Kailani, this is Kailani's book. Kailani has given 10 words for cutting. 10 words. I'm going into details. I had not gone into details, but since there was a question, he has included word kata also. Kata is also used for cutting. Yes. There are 10 words. There are different types of cutting. Kata is one of the words shown here, katna. And then he says that the meaning of kata, page 689, I have the digital copy I can email to anyone who likes. Qata means to cut and separate. Cut and separate. Everywhere you will find this meaning. It does not mean incision. If, God forbid, we attach this alternate meaning today, which is not the meaning of qata, if we attach this meaning, then why face all the criticism that the Muslim Islamic jurisprudence provides cutting of hands for the thief? Then it is easy to interpret that qata yad means just give an incision to the hand of the thief, and that's all, qata yad. But it has to be seen in the context, where it has been used, how it has been used, what the Quran says there. Quran uses it in the sense of cutting and separating. This is out of 10 words. He has compared every word. And then lens lexicon, another. Lens is lexicon, not dictionary. Lexicon means it is the collection of hundreds of dictionaries. And he quotes it. And I have been giving that. Sikinun. Last time it was said that Sikinun is from Sakaka. I'll come to that also. That why Sakaka and why Sikin? Sikinun mentioned by Ibn Abad in this article and said, and Mughni also supports this, so on the Mayyar of Failan, Sakka, or Failan from Sukun, see article Sakan. He does not give this meaning lens lexicon. Quoting Mughni and quoting Ibn Abad, he is not giving at this place the meaning of Sikinun as knife. From Sakka, he says that yes, has the meaning of knife, but it is from Sakan. And he's referring that go and see Sakan. The quotation is here, page 148 of Lens Lexicon. He's quoting two other dictionaries. And here, page 157, it says that Sikinan from Sukun, not from Sakaka. From Sakaka, yes, it has a meaning, but here Sikin, when Noon has been added here, it is from Sakan, and it is so called because it stills the animal slaughtered with it. Sukun. It is from that. And Kata, so many dictionaries shown in the brackets, ASKTA and so many others. Gripping or cutting pain in the bowels. If somebody has a youthful experience sometimes, of a lustful experience, or a loving experience, when one sees something which affects not only his eyes but the entire body, such a beauty, overall, overwhelming, the cutting pain in the bowels, these ladies felt it at that time. Interrupting of the voice, their voice was also affected. And there are other meanings also. They they changed their old position of criticizing Zulekha. They changed the position. This is also the meaning. And they sided with Zulekha that yes, you are right. You have no choice but to go for him, and we are with you. Now we are coming to Mufradatul Quran by Imam Raghib Isfahani, pages 858, 859. This is the book. I didn't have the copyable version. What is the meaning of kata? Imam Raghib Isfahani. He says the meaning of kata is to cut and separate. These ladies did not cut their hands and separated their hands. It was incision. It was injury. It was jarr. It was not the cutting of hand as a cutting, separating. In the context of, I'll not translate with these words only. In the context of Quran and in the context of ayat, it has to be seen. And there was another question on fatah. It has been all along Quran.corpus.com, Hilali, and so many other international version, international translation, and so many others. It has always been translated as youth, slave boy, boy, girl, and then Fatayan, two young men, youth, youthful. These are dictionaries. Strong youth, not above 40, not around 40, not in 40. Applied by Moses to Joshua, the son of Nun, because he served him. After Moses, Joshua took over. He was a young man. It also means a slave. Even if an old man, yes, it can be used for a slave, yes, metaphorically. And when I had discussed these words last time, I had said that now I am going into philology, not the lexicon, not the lexicology, not the logat. Metaphorically, idiomatically, proverbially, you may use this word, but here the statement of Quran is clear, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word ashad balagh when he was when his puberty was strengthened. It is not used here metaphorically. And then we come to the point how it is defined in the world. Youth. All the definitions of adolescent, youth, young people, these range from 10 to 24 years. When Yusuf was got from the Ghayabat al-Jub, from the well, at that time, the Quran uses the word ghulam. Ghulam is used for a boy, maybe around 10 years. And he was in the Potiphar's house, in the Aziz's house, and there he grew up. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when I strengthened his puberty, this is the incident of that time. If he had attained the age of 40 at that time, it means by that time he had lived in the house of Zulaikha for 30 years. From 10 to 40 years, 30 years. And the incident did not take place at the age of 40. The incident took place as soon as he was in the prime of his youth. As soon as he attained puberty. Early age. The incident took place at that time, not after 40 years, not after 30 years. After 30 years, then if the 30 years he had no intention for him, then there's no probability, the law of probability that she would be inclined to her for this in such a manner. Now I stop here. I think I have we can enter into another discussion, because these ayat are different when we are going to discuss. But here I have tried to clarify that the context of the ayat is that I come back to these ayat. It is important to clarify because of the misinterpretation, the whole world has been given an impression that Quran has exonerated Zulaikha, that she was innocent. She could not resist the beauty. She could not resist the handsomeness as other ladies could not. And they cut their hands. That is why Zulaikha has been presented like Juliet and Yusuf as a Roman, which is totally wrong, against the interpretation of Quran. The story goes like this, that when she tried to seduce Yusuf, he refused. It became a gossip, and those ladies involved themselves in the gossip who were of the same feather. They were of the same thinking. They were invited. A banquet was arranged for them, and with all the comfort where they could enjoy it, the environment, Yusuf was called in, and they changed their position. And Yusuf, the victim, was himself experiencing that what was going on, how it is changed, and now being directly threatened, that if he doesn't do this, I'll put him into jail and he will be punished and he will be debased, he will be dishonored. And at that time, it is also very important to understand the meaning of one ayat. I mean, the words in one ayat. It is also very important. I'll just, now there are two words only, which I'll try to explain. They say, Hasha lillah, wa kulna hasha lillah, ma haza basharun. Inna haza illa malakun kareemun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not referred to the beauty, to the handsomeness of Yusuf alayhi salam. He has quoted the words which these ladies used. What is the meaning of Hash? From root Habash. Raghib Isfahani. I have the thing, if I can share with you. I'm sharing new page with you. I hope it will be clear. Not only Raghib Isfahani, others also say. From Habash is the word Hashi, is the word Hash, is the word Washi. And here he says that word Hash is used when the hunters go for hunting and they find an animal, prey, they encircle it. That process of encircling, Yusuf alayhi salam was encircled. They are not using the word Allah for the purpose that they are believing in Allah. They were afraid of Allah. They feared Allah. They are saying that don't let her go. This is the meaning. You kindly see it here. Hashim means that he is encircled in such a way that he should not, the prey, the animal should not get out of this trap. Hasha lillah. And Malikun Kareemun. Kareemun is not used here as we say Allah Kareem. At one place in Quran it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that those who like their praise and they arrange their praise, they will go to hell, and when they will be put into hell, at that time it will be says Fazuku Antal Azizul Kareem. So we have to see what is the meaning of Kareem here. Kareem means precious, beneficial, who can give benefit. When Yusuf is brought to the home of Yusuf, Aziz, he tells his wife that we'll either adopt him as son or we will get some benefit. Nafa, word Nafa has been used. And now they are saying, telling her, Malikun, another reading if possible, milk, property. He is a precious property. And in one of the slides last time I had shown that in Egypt at that time, slaves were the private personal property. Now in this context, the overall most important meaning is when Yusuf alayhi salam is praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in plural that save me from these ladies, they have changed their position and they are with Zulekha, they are immoral, save me from this immorality. It's not a love story, send me to jail. This is the interpretation, but I don't know how to correct this literature, which is in tons and hundreds and thousands of tons of literature, which is circulating, whether we know it or not. I've given you the references, but I've seen it. I've gone through it. I've tried to study it. I tried to respond to this literature, and I made a presentation as an attorney of Yusuf alayhi salam in the International Islamic University. That this is the zulm which we are committing to the interpretation of these ayahs. Subhan Rabbika Rabbil Izzat Amma Yasifun wa Salamun ala al-Mursaleen walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك أعلى كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. والله Spread your mercy upon us. Shower us with your blessings. Increase our knowledge. Grant us forgiveness. And reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, grant them your mercy. Make their graves garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, remedy our son Ma'raj and all our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, grant them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we ask you with every name you have selected for yourself that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه وامداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه وامداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.